I'd now like to introduce Virginia Matthews. Virginia is the Manager of Diversity and Culture in the Institutional Division of the ANZ Bank. She started her career in the education sector as a primary teacher. I'm glad to see you're involved in early childhood development, Virginia, and has since spent most of her career in the financial services area with AXA and the ANZ. She has over 10 years' experiences in human resources, including both operational and strategic human resource roles, change management and training and development. For the past 2 years, Virginia has been focused on improving the diversity of the workforce in the institutional division of the ANZ. Virginia also focuses on developing the culture of the institutional division and the engagement of people within that division. She is currently the Secretary of the National Diversity Think Tank and a committee member of the Equal Opportunity Network of Victoria. She has a Bachelor of Education and a Graduate Diploma in Business in Organisational Behaviour. Thank you, Virginia.
I think Peter's introduction was probably longer than my presentation. I only realised late yesterday afternoon that I was presenting as well as sitting on a panel, so I'll do a lot more talking rather than reading to my slides. ANZ, hopefully you all know who we are and what we do, and you're putting loads of money into our organisation as customers. That would be great. Slightly different to probably many of the organisations that you're working with, in that we have around 30,000 staff globally, with about 22 or 23, it changes on a fairly regular basis, staff in Australia. So just to give you a bit of context about ANZ, and I guess from my perspective, understanding the similarities of the challenges that we face that some of you might be facing, and listening to Hilary, she actually stole a lot of my thunder, I have to say. Very similar issues that we're facing on a day-to-day basis. So the first slide is just some stats, and some of you probably can't see, but if I move away from the microphone you might not be able to hear me. But it's really clear that shifts in our demography, we've got an ageing population, we're not replacing enough people, we're all really struggling to get the right number of people, get the best staff into our organisation. So McKinsey a few years ago, the consulting firm, coined the term the war for talent, and I think it's getting more and more the case. So a whole lot of data there about what's happening in Australia and why we need to really think about how we do attract people to our organisations. So a little bit just about ANZ's perspective on this, I guess, but we've talked about, and we've recently got a new CEO, so the last couple of months only, so we mightn't talk about being a very different bank, but we have been talking about how do we differentiate ourselves as a bank, what makes ANZ different. And we know that to be different, we need to attract and retain the best people in the industry. We want to maximise the contribution of all of our people, so not just focusing on the kind of typical bankers, and particularly the division that I work in, traditionally a very white, masculine, pinstripe suit sort of area, because we cover. We look after ANZ's biggest clients, so the institutions, the corporations, etc. And so we have investment bankers working for us. So a very kind of masculine, traditional environment typically. So we know that we need to shift that. Hilary spoke about cost of turnover and or not so much absenteeism, but we know that's an issue for many organisations. We talk about being different. So how do we innovate? How do we all the banks pretty much do the same thing, and really the only way to differentiate ourselves is through our people. So how do we make sure we have a diverse range of people and really utilise those people and their innovative and creative solutions? We also have been focused, particularly recently, on making sure that our products are more inclusive for the community. So we've recently launched a disability action plan. We've had one for some years. It's been out of date for many of those years, and so we've recently launched our new action plan, which has three areas of focus. One is internal with our people, one is kind of the general community, and one is obviously with our customers. Hilary spoke a little bit about this, but I guess I want to really focus today on your brand. So what is it that makes you different from the other people you're competing with to get people into your organisation? So I found this quote yesterday about 5 o'clock. I think I found this quote. And I'll read it for those people who can't see the screen. To recruit effectively, you have to understand what your company's brand means to potential employees. With that understanding, you'll know what aspects of your brand are attractive to job seekers and what aspects of your brand need work to make your company more attractive in their eyes. So I think whether you've got 5 people, 500, 5,000 or maybe 50,000, understanding what your brand is and how you can sell that proposition to the marketplace and to those people you're looking to attract is really important. So about attracting the right people. What is your brand? How do you understand what your employment proposition is? And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, and I'll try not to use too many HR jargon words, but sometimes they just fall out of my mouth. So if I see you kind of glazing over, I'll know I've gone too far. I also, of course, working in a bank, there's also many banking terms that I might use as well. So if you don't understand me, put your hand up and I'll try and remember what the correct English is for them. Understand your talent pool. So who's out there in the marketplace? Who might you be able to attract to your organisation? And what is it that you can do to make yourselves attractive to that sector? So recently, in the last couple of years, we've been much more focused on how do we attract a more diverse range of people, and have undertaken a number of initiatives that are both focused on our existing staff, so that they're certainly supporting people that we already have in the organisation, but they're also, I guess, used as a way of branding. And at ANZ, we have great capacity for PR. So particularly our previous CEO was a bit of a darling of the media, and it really enabled us to get some focus and some highlight on some of the things that we were doing. And I guess, you know, such a big organisation, we can do that very publicly, but even if you're in a smaller organisation, thinking about how you can utilise perhaps your local media or word of mouth or whatever it might be to really get your brand across and some of your initiatives across. We, about 18 months or 2 years ago, our CEO was speaking about mature age workers, and he announced that we committed to part-time work for our workers over 55. That point in time, we didn't actually have that commitment in place. We didn't have that policy, but he went and told everyone that we did. So we very quickly developed a policy, and we're the first organisation, we understand, in Australia to do that, where there's a guarantee of part-time work for people over the age of 55. That had a huge impact in the marketplace, with the level of interest in ANZ by that more mature market increasing quite substantially. Don't ask me by how much, because I can't tell you that, but there was a lot of media interest. There was and a lot of interest in the community, and also obviously by our own staff who you know, we're all going to get older, so it's kind of one of those appealing things. Some of the other things that we've done, I mentioned the Disability Action Plan. That's been really engaging for our current staff who have a disability. They can see that there's stuff happening, which is good. We also, for the first time this year, went to Mardi Gras in Sydney, and I mention that because, one, it was the first time a bank had done that, as we understand, in such a public way, but what it meant was all of a sudden here was an organisation who were openly stating that we supported our own people who were of various sexual orientations, that it wasn't just a white heterosexual organisation, but also, and I happened to be in the parade because it was such a lot of fun, thousands of people, you know, seeing us with our ANZ umbrellas, twirling them around as we marched down Oxford Street, was a really strong statement publicly. So, you know, we had a captive audience saying that was a sector of the community that we really supported. So again, it's thinking about how, and we didn't do it primarily as a marketing exercise. We did it for our staff, but there's obviously some some benefits of getting some marketing involved as well.